All right. So now we have episode 5. I am absolutely buzzing for this one because here we have Carson Cruz. For any of you who don't know Carson, Carson's actually one of the vets in the high ticket space. Has worked previously for Sales Mentor, who some of you, I'm pretty sure you guys should know about Sales Mentor by this stage. Basically, the pioneers of high ticket sales. So done a bunch of stuff over there, and I actually worked with him over at a company that's still established called Pompa Program. It's a health-based offer, probably the biggest in the space in the US. And Carson was consistently the top performer there. I struggled to catch up with him at times. He was definitely a savage on that offer. But yeah, responsible for millions in revenue, has built 3 teams, from scratch and been able to be one of the top performers, I suppose, in every single offer he's been a part of. So I'm so excited to have him on. Yeah, we're just going to be kind of shooting the crap, I guess you could say, with regards to what we're going to be covering. But I guess we'll leave the floor to you there, Carson. Is there anything I missed in the introduction? Anything you wanted to say more about yourself and, like, I guess your journey?
Hey, no, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I kind of got my start, I think, with most people back in 2020, 2021, right when the high ticket space was emerging. And so, like everybody else, I saw the same ads and videos on YouTube, working at a 9 to 5 that I hated at that point. Um, that's right when I got out of the military. So yeah, 2019, transitioning back to civilian life, trying to figure out what's next, or what to do. And Sales Mentor popped up at Amazon while I was working the night shift over there. Decided to pull the trigger and change my life forever. So I'm eternally grateful for that.
Yeah, and like and that's something that I think a lot of the viewers here are going to be wanting to understand was how what that was like, because I think a lot of us from the outside of Sales Mentor figured it was like the boiler room environment. It's the kill or be killed. It was like, kind of the next level up from Sales Sniper, which was kind of a similar environment. It was a sink or swim. So talk us through like that transition of getting into appointment setting sales with Sales Mentor, how that was for you. And you mentioned life changed from there. So like talk through that as well if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first part, just getting into the sales. So with my family, my grandfather made his living doing Christian book sales door to door back in the
Wow,
60s.
savage.
Yeah, so he did that. He had they created a company called Thomas Nelson back in Nashville, Tennessee, about like 1960, 1965. And he ran a sales department called the varsity team. And so I think I would attribute much of my sales experience from him, just watching what he does and him passing on the knowledge from all of his years of experience. So I had a somewhat understanding of a sales background, but I just never actually done anything anything high ticket or anything over $500 or so, I would say. So I guess I'll take it to the beginning. When I got out of the military, I was in the Navy about 3.5 years as a Navy diver, and then cross traded over to what's called an ABF. Um, Now in Tennessee, there's not really any oceans or or water surrounding to do any type of diving work or underwater welding. So I knew I had to pivot into something. Um, Long story short, I saw the ad. It's like $97 for a front end offer. The sales mentor, what was it called? Inbound accelerator, I think. And
Yeah.
then paid the $97 for that. I was working night shift at Amazon. I'll never forget that. It was like 16 an hour, 8.5 hour shifts, and it was a night shift. So it was like from 8 p.m. to like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And I remember on the break seeing, the same cliche thing, make 10,000, 15,000 a month, replace your 9 to 5, yada, yada, yada. So right away, I thought it was too good to be true, but it was $97. No harm, no foul. Picked it up, went through the course, uh, ended up being amazing. Like a lot of small nuggets that added up into a huge golden nugget that just something clicked, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Something clicked in my brain where I was like, this could really be something. So about 2, 3 weeks later, I got a call for private coaching. Couldn't afford private coaching at that time. So I just worked and worked and worked, and then was able to come in on a payment plan into the private coaching with Sales Mentor. And then about 2 weeks later, being in that program, Josh Johnson had reached out and said, "Hey, dude, I saw you're in Nashville. You're crushing it. You're applying everything. You want to come take a shot and come work with us?" So I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Now, or Franklin, Tennessee was only like 25, 30 minutes away. So why not? I joined them, and then yeah, totally different environment. Mono e mono, alpha dogs, shark eat shark. It was definitely one of those environments where you had to compete and be the best to stay a part of that team always. And under pressure is where I thrive in. So I felt like that was the perfect environment, especially just getting out of the military to
Mm,
transition back into, get uncomfortable, and learn a new skill set that ultimately would end up making me hundreds of thousands of dollars, years later, and still what I'm doing to this day. So that's a
absolutely.
little bit of what it was like back then.
For sure. And another thing, because I actually forgot to mention about your military background, like how do you think that that helped you being in that environment, right? Because to come straight into sales for anybody that's new, that's scary for anyone, even with your background, right? But like how, I mean, did that play a big part in your transition there and doing well? Or like how do you feel like that did help, if anything?
So the military definitely instilled. I'm fourth generation military, so that's always been big in my family. But instilling that discipline, the no quit attitude, that it doesn't matter what challenge or what obstacle is in my path, I'm going to figure out a solution to either break through it or to move it out of my way to accomplish the goal or accomplish the mission that I'm setting out to achieve. So yeah, having that no quit attitude and then just the constant hustle and discipline, I think, or I know, really set myself up for success in anything that I do moving forward from that experience. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, like the foundation's 100%. And like that's something that I noticed about working with you at Pompa, like the discipline, how, not even just with your work ethic, but sticking to process, right? It would
Mhm.
be very rare that you would come off or be led by the prospect. One thing I noticed about you, you were very direct, perfectly willing to have a hard conversation. And that discipline that you had with that skill set was what I think really is what helped me learn a lot from you in my time at Pompa. So like how talk to me more about the skill set aside, like being in that environment, like what sort of things had you learned to develop the skills that you have now, and what were some of the most important things that you learned to help you be where you are at the moment?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing that I've learned, um, more so about myself, because I never really thought about it in the past until this job
Right.
or this career, is just being genuine. I think being genuine and having emotional intelligence are probably the two biggest skill sets or traits to have in sales, because you can't fake it. You can't fake having that emotional rapport or feeling that connection with someone, and let them know without saying it that you have their best interest at heart at the end of the day, and that this is for you. This has nothing to do with me. I'm outside the room. This is to help you accomplish your goals, whatever that may be. So yeah, that would be big. And then the genuine part, that's something I've always been told. I never really thought about it, but I definitely would attribute that oh, to my success is just being able to connect. Again, there's no fakeness. There's no, what you see is what you get. Is what I'm trying to say. So yeah,
Absolutely.
those two things are the biggest ones.
That's what I noticed about you. Like it was never you being direct, and sometimes I think people from the outside can look at your demeanor and it's almost like harsh or direct, but it's like it was you could tell it came from your heart. It came from wanting to do the best for that person, which like by all of the people that I've seen in the space, the best ones are those that are willing to have those conversations and address those elephants up front. And like I even remember the time at Pompa where there was one of my calls were being reviewed by not only Greg but everybody else. And I just remember like it was a really bad call. And I just remember there was a feedback that you gave that helped with like the emotional intelligence. Sometimes just I was dancing around the bush, I think, a little bit on one of the calls, and
Mhm.
like I noticed, like that's a big part of your philosophy, right? Is having that directness and putting their best interest there. Yeah, go on. So who's going to say something?
Yeah, I think I remember that call. I think that it definitely was a tough call on your like the client or the prospect that you had. But I want to say the thing that I told you was, dude, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
that's huge in sales, right? We're always in
of
a
course.
uncomfortable position or something that's very high intensity. And so keeping your cool, keeping your calm, and having that detachment of it's not about me at the end of the day. It's about you. What can we do to help you take at least one step in the right direction? So, yeah, being uncomfortable, or yeah, get comfortable with being uncomfortable for sure.
Absolutely. And there's obviously so many ways to do that. I mean, you being at Sales Mentor, you experienced it in probably all different ways, working probably ridiculous hours, competing with other people that are fighting for the position,
Yeah.
performing by yourself, speaking with tough prospects, very skeptical. So like, and how was that for you? Like selling, well, you're not, maybe you were selling salespeople, but also just selling like within that environment. Like how was that for you? Like, that
Yeah.
those types of prospects.
So Sales Mentor was a B2C, business to consumer, and then Traffic and Funnels was business to business. I started at Traffic and Funnels, and that was, I would say, our flagship at the time. That was the biggest one. And then this is where it really comes down to your personality type and understand where would you, with your skill set and with what comes with being Taylor and what comes with being Carson, where would I be best suited for as far as an offer goes? A B2B offer where it's just ROI, it's pretty black and white, or a business to consumer where there is that emotional rapport. And it's not so much about the ROI, it's just making sure that we got all the pieces of the puzzle figured out and we have a solid game plan in place to make sure this happens or this goal gets hit. So for me, having that human element, that emotional element, is where I noticed right away. Is where I am the best at, or strong suited at. And so I left Traffic and Funnel, or I moved from Traffic and Funnel. It's probably like after 3 weeks of doing it to Sales Mentor, and going straight into the sales pit. And man, I if you've never been in a sales pit before or like at an office and you're just around dogs and who have been in the game for a long time or brand new, but they're just crushing it, you'll never get that type of experience or lessons that you can learn in that pit. Zoom and like working from home is great and all, but I would take that. That's probably what I miss most about Sales Mentor is the people and then just learning from greats that who have gone and started their own business and they're doing huge things now, but just being right next to them and listening to how they talk and like what they say and what word tracks that they use really 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 helped out a lot. So yeah, it was scary for sure. There was quite a few times that I was like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna be here by the end of the week. And then that's where I think the discipline would kick back in is okay, I'll be the first one here with Greg. I'll be the last one to leave with Greg, and nothing's going to stop me from being the best. So that's what it took. I think back then was you had to have that mindset of nothing's going to get in my way to be the best. It doesn't matter what everybody else is saying, or if I'm screwing up today, tomorrow's a new day. So I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna show up tomorrow, and I'm gonna be 1% or 10% better today than I was yesterday. So yeah, man.
So I think that's kind of like the part that's missing in the online space is that just because when you're around people, you see people doing better than you. Like your competitive side is like the envious side makes you want to just get on top, be the best that you can be. And yes, we have to focus on ourselves, but there's nothing better sometimes than competing against other people. But you're all like working towards the same goal.
Right.
Like I remember my first gig was door to door sales. I did that for about a year and a half. And I remember I went to like three different places in the UK competing with other sales guys. And when you saw that guy who rung the bell more than anybody else, you was
Yeah.
like, oh, damn. And then like there was a time where literally about 10 p.m. I got the last sale, I managed to ring the bell again. And you just get sales after sales,
Mm.
because of that competitiveness. It's not even always about um, like it's more the mindset that kind of separates everything else. That drive and just that willingness to. Sometimes it's obviously for the right reasons, right? To help other people do the best that you can. But that kind of selfishness of hitting your own goals, you need that in sales sometimes,
a
right?
hundred
Like
percent.
there's a kind of, if you're too empathetic, it's not good, but also if you're too self-driven, that's obviously bad in and of itself. So like I can imagine with you, because you've kind of got a really good balance of that, like drive for yourself, but also for others. So like how have you developed that?
Well, that's from Taylor Welch. He did a training back in 2020, 2021, somewhere around then, at the office. And it was balancing light versus dark energy and understanding which ones you need to pull from given the situation and like what's going on that day, that call. Um, that you're on. So yeah, that I think that's what it sounds like you're doing, or is what you're asking. How do you balance that out? How do you know when I need to be more empathetic to a client versus when I need to give them a loving smack or a wake up call? So to me, the smack or the kind of calling you out that you're making excuses for yourself, you're not doing what you said that you wanted to do, you're not implementing X, Y, Z, that would be using the dark energy to, hey, you're messing up. This is me holding you accountable for what you said that you wanted, and you're not doing it. So you can balance that dark energy and smack people respectfully, but to get them to wake up and understand that, okay, this is what you asked for. This is that push come to shove moment. You need to get your butt in gear and start, doing what you say you're going to do. Whereas with, especially with Pompa now, uh, that is more of a light energy offer. It's very emotional. It's very, people are extremely sick and have been sick for an extremely long time. And they're kind of giving up on themselves at this point. So you have to, bring your heart out and connect with these people and really bring them back into the fold, even if they don't come to work with you guys or close on your offer. These people don't have any hope left. So just having a genuine conversation and letting them feel heard and validated, and just to let them know that someone's in their corner would be a huge use of using light energy correctly and making more of an impact than just a sale would make. Um, that's where I'm at in a point in my life now. Is it doesn't matter about the money anymore. It doesn't really matter about the closes anymore. To me, the biggest thing is if I have a conversation with you and I can impact, if I can say at least one thing to impact you or change your mindset into a more positive direction for what you want, that's all that matters at the end of the day. If that's what it takes to get you to take action into whatever it is that you want to do, or need, then great, we're done. That's it. If it goes more than that, that's just a bonus. But we just need to take that step in the right direction. So, yeah, man, light energy versus dark energy. We actually just did a training on that a couple weeks ago, and it's really a night and day difference, man. Just being able to pull that out of the tool belt when you need it.
100%. And that actually reminds me of the book. It's Relentless, I think. Tim
Yeah,
Grover. You may have read that book. You've got it, right? Excellent. And I remember reading that book, and there's what are the three types of personalities again? There was like the cleaner, closer, and there was the other one.
clean closer.
Got but the I think the cleaner's the Michael Jordan one, right? Where you can just be intentional with when you can pull out the dark energy, when you can pull out the
Yeah,
light, and that's what people struggle with. And I know myself, right, that I always struggled with being able to, right, well, when do I bring that dark mode out, or when do I need to be more empathetic? And that's it's a skill that's very hard to teach. It's something where you just kind of have it or you don't. It can be developed, but you have to have a level of foundation to be able to master that, like on a
right.
mental level. And I wanted to ask you that because you've made like such a pivot from sales mentor, which is very dog eat dog, dark energy type of role, versus Pompa, which and when I experienced it, it was such a shift for me that was
Yeah,
very uncomfortable because you speak with 50 or 60-year-olds who, quite frankly, they're kind of waiting to die, I think, by the sounds of the conversations, right? Where they were just like, oh, my health's not going so well. I'm just gonna try this because see if there's anything I can get from it, but I'm not expecting much. They have
yeah,
really low expectations of anything. And of course, it's a 7K health offer, which these guys have probably never invested that kind of money into their own health before. So there's those kind of things you have to deal with also. But like, talk to me about like going from that dark offer, sales mentor, to then this offer and like how you've been able to adapt so well. Because that's, yeah,
Good
opposite.
question, man. Yeah, I would have never thought. I've never done health. This is my first health offer. So after sales mentor, after doing B2B with traffic and funnels, business to business, then it's sales training with sales mentor. The next thing I did, I think it was real estate with investor Mel and Dave for a little while as a setter, and then pivot into during that time. A good friend of mine, Josh Altott, was kind of trademarking or developing a new type of sales role called a full stack sales pro, who is basically an SDR and a closer at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that role kind of pivoted into that with Investor Mel and Dave in real estate. And from there, I went into solar, and then that company got shut down. And there was one more that I did. I think it was Sam Cart. It was Sam Cart, then Pompa. Um, so it, Pompa
All
was just kind of an
ROI
act.
offers mainly, isn't it?
You said what?
So all mainly ROI offers, the ones that you did. That's a huge
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah, the huge ROI offers, and I didn't like them, to be honest. The real estate, I mean, I like to learn that information for myself, but
Mm.
with my type of sale type is I don't hard sell. I don't like just the ROI. I do like the impact and the emotional rapport that gets built for the long term. There's people who have been closed for a year and a half now at Pampa who still reach out and check in, like, "Hey, Carson, how you doing? Just wanted to say happy holidays. This, and that. Hope you're doing well." And it's stuff like that where I know I really went above and beyond. If a year later, I'm not thinking about you, but you reached out to me and let me know that I was on your heart or I was on your mind, and that you still remember our conversation from a year ago. So that really, when I first started seeing that, my first month with Pampa, really kind of just told me right away, like, okay, this is going to be the one for a while. To answer your question though, how did I pivot from going from an ROI to something like that? It was by an accident, to be completely honest with you. Totally by accident. I knew a lot of the goats that were at Traffic and Funnels and Sales Mentor back in the golden days were thinking about going to Pampa. And so I kept getting hit up. Hey, are you going to come here? I need you to be an SDR. Da 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 da. And so I was like, yeah, dude, I'll give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. And the rest is history at that point. So been here ever since.
And that's it. And like ever since you've been there, you've been able to do like so well, have such an impact. And that's like what you said there about like that person reaching back out to you, like after you didn't even speak in a year and a half, like probably forgot about the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, and that goes to show for anybody who devalues appointment setting and believes that it's not like valuable. At the same time, you are the first impression of that company. How they view the company is based on their conversation with you, right? And so if you don't have those impactful conversations up front where you're putting that person first, that might be the reason they don't get the help that they need and so desperately want. And another thing as well is that they might, they won't make significant changes in their life, most importantly, right? And
I do
I
want to
think
touch
that's
on
what
that.
you said there is so important for appointment setters.
I'm glad you brought up the if anybody feels some type of way about being an SDR. So I got my start at Sales Mentor being an SDR, an appointment setter for them, and then as I've throughout the years gone to different offers, I've done closing, I've been an advisor, I've been a setter, and looking back at it, I would choose setter every time on any offer
Why
moving
did you
forward.
say that? Because a lot of people would not say that, right? So
A
I
lot of
wanted to
people
hear that
won't
directly
say that.
from you.
Yeah, they'll think they think, or a lot of people, say SDR is like the entry level position, and from there you work your way up to an advisor, and then from there sales or a sales manager, and blah 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 blah. This is where it comes back to figure out your type. Where does your skill set best suited at? So
Mm.
closing's great. The money is definitely there and whatnot. But for my type, with how I like to sell, appointment setting gave me the most at bats or most opportunities for my deals to close in a given day, and it gave me also the security to have a base or have some type of money coming in guaranteed for me and my family. I have a partner and a daughter, a child, And so I know I needed to have something coming in, and with my schedule, closing it wasn't really. I'll only be able to take like 3 or 4 calls a day if I was going to be a closer. And I know with my income goals, that's not a reality. Like that's not going to get me to where I want to be at. So with appointment setting, being an SDR, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's the easiest it's the easiest role to do because your calls are framed so differently, and like the overall objective is framed differently than an advisor would be. So the pressure is off. I think if you are coming into this space, definitely being an SDR out the gate is what everyone's going to tell you. Develop that skill set, develop that the SDR skill set and master it. And it doesn't matter where you go in life or what you do, that skill set translates into relationships, into your personal life with family, jobs, careers, and then your their companies are always going to need. Oh, sorry. Yeah, someone just rang my doorbell. My bad. Um, is it bad?
No, it's fine, mate. It's cool. Carry on.
I was gonna say, developing the skill set with being an SDR, you're always going to be needed, always. So most SDRs are going to come out as a overall net for a company, and I think that having that discipline built in from the get go, and that drive of how hard being an SDR is going to take you so much farther than an advisor would be. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people are not going to agree with that, but I
No,
think
no, that's right. But I agree. I'm on the same page with you there as well.
I think there's a huge shortage of solid SDRs that know what they're doing and love the trade, I guess, or the skill set. Um, but a lot of people see these videos, man, and think that an SDR role is easy or second rate to an advisor, and it's not at all. It's supposed to have some synergy going on to where we're a team.
Exactly.
I'm gonna lay it up and hand off this amazing client to you to come up and dunk it down, dunk it in. So if anybody tells you that being SDR is crap, it's not true. If you're second rate to an advisor or you don't matter as much as an advisor, that's not true at all. I think I do think, and I see it every day. This space doesn't give appointment setters the credit that they deserve um, at all,
Fully
and
agree.
it's messed up to be for real. But that's my opinion on it. Sorry with the dogs and the tangent, but yeah,
No, no,
man.
no, no, no. That's good. And I'm of the same view. Like I think with being an appointment setter, right? Like, and you literally use the basketball analogy, and I say this every time, but being an SDR is like being Scottie Pippen for Michael Jordan, right? Without Scottie Pippen, MJ wouldn't have had the record that he had, or some of the success that he had. And so I think people need to look at that and kind of have that collaborative approach with appointment setters. And if anything, sometimes it's an honorable career for a lot of people. For me, I've had my most fulfilling times as an appointment setter.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I've been closing the last 7 months, I've honestly had better times appointment setting. And so,
Well,
like,
being an appointment
yeah,
setter
go on.
too, man, it's like I was saying earlier. You can set up yourself to have multiple at bats, per day. And I know you know this, but for the people who are watching this who don't know, there's a lot of times now, like with Pompa, that I'm making more than a lot of the advisors on the advisor team. I mean, we have
Yeah,
like 70, 80 reps, but um, yeah, like almost consistently, I'm making more than probably 95, 93% of the advisors there. So that goes to show a lot that as an advisor, you only have X amount of points to appointments per day that you can take, and only an X amount of at bats. Whereas SDR, you can load up 10 to 15 appointments per day and have like 5 to 7 of those close. You're making really, really good money at that point.
so no, and I remember like my best ever week as an appointment setter was there at Pompa as well. And it sometimes goes to show like having that opportunity as well is what's really important.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wish we had more time, man. Unfortunately, we have to cut it there. But that was some amazing pearls, and I'm sure my AI is going to be coming up with probably like 25 different short reels for this. So appreciate all of their content there. But yeah, guys, if you want to, hear more from Carson, I'm not sure if people can reach you directly through Facebook or like, is that a
Yeah.
thing? Like, can they reach you?
Anybody can reach me. I don't post like you post, so I don't think most people understand or know who I am unless you work with me. Um, but yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm more than willing to help out and have some one-on-ones with some people for sure. And thank you for having me today, man.
No, honestly, it's an honor, mate. I'm glad that you came on. So, guys, if you did like it, obviously make sure to like the video, of course. I would recommend, put a comment down below of what you took away, what was the most insightful part of our conversation, and make sure to share the video because obviously more appointment setters need to hear about this. They need to understand the industry from the people that have been there and done it, right? That's very important. We see a lot of people that, preach what is definitely not true and is just overdoing it, right? Selling the dream too much. We have to give the realities to people. But no, that's been really good, Carson. Take care, guys. And if you want anything more, then of course comment below, do the relevant sharing, and yeah, we'll see you for the next episode.
Alrighty. Peace.